All right, we are live. Good morning, West Covina Unified. Welcome to another live training session where we will be talking about the latest technology tools and resources that we have engineered just for you as we enter in this new stage of hybrid and simultaneous teaching and learning. Thank you for joining us today as we look forward to bringing our students back in the classroom. Our priority today is to use all the tools and resources we have to help engage our students and interact with them in person. As we bring our students back, our goal is to continue to provide the same excellent in-person instruction right where we left off just about a year ago. Keep in mind, as we talk about these tools we have and the strategies that we may recommend, that you are the master of your own craft, and the only expectation is really that we're not performing distance learning in person. Although this will be challenging, I'm fully confident that no other staff but West Covina can take care of this. We are eager to get things started right away, but before we do, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. So today I'd like to introduce a few individuals that we have. We have Jennifer Crabtree, who is our coordinator of EdTech, distance learning, hybrid learning, simultaneous learning, essentially all learning with a computer. Today we also have Johnny Guerrero, our computer system support specialist, who's the man behind many of the EdTech tools that we have and that we use daily. We have our wonderful district TOSAs, Joy Savoy and Tomoko Price. Thank you for joining us today. And last but not least, we have our very own Merlinda Elementary teacher, Lucy Lopez, who has been instrumental in testing and piloting some of the tools and resources that we are excited to show you today. So this morning, we have some exciting new tools and strategies and ideas to share with you. We are eager to answer any questions or concerns that you have. So speaking of questions, we would like for this training to be as interactive as possible. In the details of the YouTube video that you are watching now, you will find a link to a Google form to submit any questions that you have. You can also find this link in the calendar invite for this meeting as well. I will be monitoring those questions as we go forward, and we'll be doing our best to answer those as we go. But at this time, I'd like to get started and hand it over to Jennifer Crabtree.
Welcome, everybody. We hope that this is beneficial to everyone as you plan what it's going to look like when kids are back in your classroom and you're teaching to kids at home.
That's awesome, Jen. We're coming back. We're going to be teaching from our classrooms. How's that possible?
Wait, Johnny, didn't you get the memo? We're already back. We're getting ready to come back. Teaching from our classroom starts on Monday.
I have a question. Is the district going to provide any tools that will help the teachers engage both groups of students?
I've heard we have these fancy new cameras, but I have no idea how we're going to use them.
You guys, remember a year ago when everybody was all up in arms about teaching kids solely remotely? We dealt with that, right? This is actually, in a lot of ways, going to be easier because you're going to be in your classrooms with all of your resources. Yes, you're going to have kids at home and kids in the classroom that you will have to engage simultaneously, but we have a lot of resources and tools at our disposal that are going to help with this. One of those things is the Poly Studio camera. This camera is going to recognize your face, move with you as you move around the classroom, and it's going to track you so the students at home will feel like they're part of the classroom experience. To show you a little bit more about what this is going to look like, we have a video featuring Lucy Lopez to show you what this will look like with your students. Welcome, teachers, to the Poly Studio camera. With this simultaneous instruction tool, You will be able to teach the students learning in your classroom and students learning at home at the same time. During instruction, you are free to walk around the front of your room. You are no longer tied to your desk and your computer. As you move, the camera will follow you, so students learning at home will feel like they're part of the classroom experience. The camera has the ability to automatically zoom in and zoom out. You can also control this manually with the help of a small remote control. The camera will automatically zoom in on the speaker's face, and other classroom noise around the camera will not be heard. By displaying your Google Meet session on your flat screen TV, you will be able to keep an eye on all of your learners. This is just one of the amazing tools we have in place for simultaneous instruction. Live training on the Poly Studio camera will be coming Monday, March 29th and Wednesday, March 31st at 8 a.m. Lucy, thank you so much for agreeing to help with that video. I love being able to see what it looks like with students in the classroom and students at home, with how you displayed your Google Meet on your TV. So now that you've used it for a few times, speaking with your students, what has your experience been?
Thanks, Jennifer. Well, my biggest takeaway from using the Polycam camera is that I can walk with confidence up to my board. I could use my whiteboard for writing. I can use my charts. I could walk over here and talk about my 6-syllable types. I can sit. And my kids seem more engaged, and I've seen less and less interruptions. They're focused. I remember the first time I used it, it was such a magical moment for me. I felt like I'm back to teaching. I felt revived. I felt like this is what I was born to do. And like I mentioned, it was a very smooth transition because once I'm on Google Meet, it automatically picks up the camera, and I'm ready to present, and the kids really enjoy it, and I'm not stuck at my chair staring at the monitor, and the kids are very engaged. So back to you, Jennifer.
That's great. What feedback have you received from the students?
My kids actually prefer the Polycam. They think they're watching a movie, and I'm the star of that. It's pretty exciting. So like I mentioned earlier, the interruptions have gone down. Engagement has increased. They actually prefer this classroom setting. They like that I can move around and I could present. And I look at it more as not remote learning, but that they're part of the classroom, part of the classroom setting. It just seems more natural this way. And I think that's why the engagement has gone up, because they feel like they're in a natural setting. And so my son said, "Mom, this is so futuristic." And I said, "I know, right? This is like the next level up." So they really do seem to be more engaged with the Polycam. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Oh, so that's the thing standing right in the middle of all the classrooms. Does it need to stay right there in the front, in the middle, Jen? I'm sorry, Johnny.
Yes, we would prefer that you leave the camera where it has been placed, as we have tested and verified this would be the best location in your classroom as far as audio, video, and tracking.
The camera literally takes the seat of one of your students. So as you're teaching to your whole class in one view. The students at home with that one camera and the students in front of you in person. So it is important that it stays right there. That way it is placed in the optimal position.
Okay, well, I know that teachers are excited to have their students back in their classrooms, but how do they make sure they don't leave out one of the groups, the Zoomies and the Roomies?
So we were trying to find another name for Zoomies because we're not Zoom, we're Google Meet, but I am not that creative. So teachers, if you have another way of talking about your kids that are at home, joining us on a Google Meet that is fun, please put it in the chat or send that Google form to Tony.
So yes, as you think about teaching with students in the classroom and students at home, it does feel a little bit overwhelming. But if you're teaching to one group, you're teaching like you normally would. You just don't have you have the freedom to move around the room. You're not tied to your desk and your computer. I think one of the biggest things is realizing you don't have to teach to your laptop camera anymore. You can actually teach to your class, and the kids at home are going to experience that right along with the kids in the classroom.
So is that exactly what the kids are going to see when they're at home?
The students are going to be able to see the teacher in the classroom as if they were students in the classrooms themselves. Think of the camera as the one on your laptop. It's like the one on your laptop, but it has more capabilities. It can track you, it can zoom in on you, it can get your full body. So as you're teaching, it looks like you're teaching and not just sitting in front of your computer like we are right now.
Yeah, Jen, great points. The camera is set up and connected through the computer, which will allow you to stay engaged with your students while you're using Google Meet with the students at home. Since the camera is connected through the computer, you will still be able to utilize other resources such as your hover cam, your classroom TV, and your front row speaker as you normally have in the past.
Lucy, how easy has it been to utilize the camera and your teaching resources at the same time?
Yes, with the Polycam, you're able to utilize many teaching resources. So I've been using my Google Classroom, my Google Slides, my Seesaw, documents, and don't forget Go Noodle, Jennifer.
That sounds great, Lucy and Johnny. Does the camera allow me to zoom, control the volume, camera movement and tracking? Does it have presets? I also heard there's modes, presenter mode and tracking mode. How do I do that?
The camera sounds a little overwhelming because it has so many capabilities. It's like, oh my gosh, another new thing to learn. Well, we got you covered. We have a wonderful tutorial video starring our own Tony Ramirez to show you all of the features and how easy it is to actually use. So Tony, would you play that video for us?
Hello, I'm Tony Ramirez, Chief Technology Officer with West Covina Unified School District, and I'm here to show you a little bit more about your Poly Studio camera. Every Poly Studio camera comes with many features that you can control with this included remote. Every Poly Studio camera comes equipped with two separate modes. Standard mode, which is the view you see here, and a tracking mode, which is enabled by your remote. Use the remote to engage the tracking mode. Once the button is pressed, the camera will follow you as you move around the room and teach in front of the classroom. The camera will pick up your voice based on the microphones built into the camera and follow you and continue to track your movements. Simply press the button again to disengage tracking mode to return to normal mode. By using your Poly Studio remote, you can manually zoom in and zoom out. To do this, press the plus button next to the magnifying glass to zoom in. Press the minus to zoom out. This is very helpful in situations where you want to zoom in on a specific area on your board in your classroom. To manually move around the room, use the control pad to go left or right, depending on where you would like to focus in on. The remote allows you to define two presets. A preset is a location in your room where you can focus your camera on for quick access. To do this, use your direction pad to identify where you want to zoom in on. For example, I will zoom in on this collection of books, and I will press and hold either the number 1 or number 2 button on the remote. You will hear an indication on the camera that your preset was configured. Simply press the middle button on the directional pad to return to normal. And now, if you press that preset number 1, you'll go right in to that saved preset. You can control the volume of your Poly Studio camera by turning it up or turning it down by using the remote. You can also mute your microphone by pressing this red button in the middle of your remote.
Thank you, Tony, for showing us how easy it is to actually use the camera, because I know a lot of us are very overwhelmed right now. And I think the biggest thing is to remember that the camera is like a student in your class, and we have to treat it as such. And that way we're not tied to our desks as we have been for the last year.
Thank you, Tony. That was very helpful. In fact, I'm going to put a name tag on my camera so I remember it takes the place of a student.
Nice.
I have another question. Can the kids in the classroom, can the kids at home hear the kids in the classroom through the microphone?
Great question, Joyce. Yes, the students at home will be able to hear, interact, and engage with the students in the classroom. However, they will not hear other ambient noises to distract them, as the Poly Studio camera has advanced audio features. You may also mute the microphone as illustrated in Tony's video. Simply press down on the big red button in the middle of the control to mute and unmute the camera.
And this is great. So students in the classroom and students at home can still interact together. The students in the classroom can still participate in class discussions, as well as the students at home. If you're displaying your Google Meet on your TV screen, then the kids in the classroom can see the kids at home as well. So you can really engage both audiences at the same time.
That's so awesome, Jen. Sounds like an amazing resource. You've seen the camera in use over the past couple of weeks. Is there any advice you give to teachers?
Yeah, there's actually a few things. So when we were filming Lucy for that first video, Lucy had this big yellow happy face poster on her whiteboard, and the camera kept wanting to focus on the happy face and not Lucy's face. So it's important to remember that the camera does recognize faces. So if you have things in front of your room that would distract from the camera, then that might be something you want to relocate, because you want the camera to focus on your face. So also, if your TV is on with your Google Meet, just know that the camera might keep focusing on that Google Meet because of all the faces there. But as soon as you start talking, it will refocus on you. But if you wanted to always be focused on you, you can simply use the remote and do that manually as well. You don't have to rely on the automatic feature.
Right on. Thanks for those tips, Jen. Appreciate it.
Yeah, the other thing is you want to make sure that you're looking at the camera, the Poly Studio camera, and not your laptop camera. And that's just going to be a learning curve. We're all going to have to get used to that. You know, the first week or so is going to be, you're going to want to look at your laptop because that's what you have been doing, and that's where the Google Meet lives as well. But just remember, if you're looking at your class, the kids at home will see you looking there as well. And then one more thing, teaching those kids at home to pin the screen for you so that you appear bigger.
That's
That
great
way,
tip.
when the camera is tracking you, they have a larger view of you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen.
Okay, I feel so much better. Thank you guys. So I can say that in math and science, we can stand up. I can stand up again. Oh, wait. And I won't be headless anymore. So I can finally stand up and teach my class and do what I do because I like to be involved in my math learning, and you can use your manipulatives. So, you know, we have our Unifix cubes. We can actually use them and show the kiddos. And for those manipulatives that like the chips, which I can't actually do with the Poly Studio camera, I still have my hover cam, right? So I can still use my hover cam for those other manipulatives, but I can also use the Poly Studio. So those of you in first grade that do the squat counting, you can get your PE and your math in at the same time. Oh, this is going to be so much better. And I have all these different resources. I think we can do this. Thanks, guys.
I love that. And you're right, Tomoko. You're not tied to just one resource. We have many resources. We have those hover cams. We have those front row Juno microphones. Because don't forget, you still have kids in your room and you're going to be wearing masks, right? So amplifying your voice is still going to be important because especially with these masks on. So we have all of these tools. We still need to incorporate everything together. It's not just one or the other. Right? Now that we have the ability to walk around our classrooms, doesn't mean we constantly have to be walking around. There's still going to be times to sit down and use that hover cam and do some of the other things that we do, but we have that freedom now to get up and teach as we normally would. So Johnny, my question is, what happens if the camera like freezes or it's not tracking right or it gets stuck in a particular mode? What do I do? What do the teachers do?
Personally, I would go to my neighbor's classroom and take their working oh,
Johnny!
I'm totally kidding. I'm just kidding. I would never do that. Jen, just like with any other piece of technology, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If your camera does freeze on you during class, no need to panic. Stay cool, keep calm. Walk up to the camera and disconnect the power cable that is on back of the unit. Wait a few seconds to allow the camera to refresh its settings. Plug the cable back into the camera and you'll be back up in seconds with your students.
Johnny, who's going to set this all up for me? I mean, I love all this technology, but you don't want me plugging all this stuff in together. That would be a bad idea.
You can totally handle it, Tomoko. You sure?
No.
All right. Well then, that's a great question. Multiple tech staff will be at each site on a designated day this week to assist all the teachers to get them set up as needed. We'll be sharing out a Hyperdoc at the end of this that outlines our schedule.
That is so helpful. But let's face it, if it were me, I'd want to set it up myself and not wait for one of those texts. Am I allowed to do that?
Well, yes, of course you are. We prefer you allow us and our team to verify the proper setup in your classroom. However, the cameras are plug and play and have been configured and set up by our wonderful techs ahead of time. So if you're someone like Mrs. Crabtree, feel free to set up and play around with the camera to get more familiar with it. And as always, if any issues occur, please submit a request and we'll get you the support that you need as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I feel so much better about the camera now. Lucy, thank you so much for demonstrating this for us. I do have another question. Do the students who are learning on campus that day, do they need to bring their devices with them?
Yes. So it is still important that, our kids have these one-to-one devices, and we're not going to throw them away just because we're back in the classroom. We've grown so much over this past year and with our learning and how we're using the devices. That's not going to go away. The only difference now is that our students in the classroom don't have to be on Google Meet because they're in the classroom. But there's still a ton of great ed tech resources that we're going to utilize, and that list is just going to continue to grow as we grow as educators. So that brings us to our Hyperdoc that you might have seen. Tony, would you show that Hyperdoc? It has a ton of great resources as well as the text schedule for the week. So if you're not sure what your day is, you can check your day. It also has some of our videos, and we will also be putting on Tony's video on that Hyperdoc so that you can look at that anytime you want to see how the remote works and all of the features.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Tony. So Tony, are there any questions from YouTube?
There are. We've got, let's see, 31 questions. I believe a lot of them were answered, but that's really good. It's really good that we have a lot of feedback and participation here. I'm just going to run down the list here. If you don't mind, I'll read them and then I'll answer as best I can. Or actually, Jen, maybe you'll defer to the team here on who should answer this.
Absolutely.
First question, how can I project myself on the TV monitor in class during a Google Meet when the sub is working in the classroom with students? I need to be the host, so how will this work? I will be working from home. Should I speak with you later? So I'll answer this one. This one is a unique situation that we will work with you one-on-one, so I'll contact you after this. All right, the training is at 9 a.m., but we are with our students for a certain amount of time. How can we attend the training on Wednesday and not miss a part of it? Well, the good thing is there is that other training at 9 a.m. on Wednesday if you would like to participate in that as well as this session here. But also we are recording this right now so we can view it at a later date and time as well. So this link right here that you have right now on YouTube will stay live and you'll be able to see the full recording of this video.
And it's important to note that both this Monday training and the Wednesday training are identical. So you don't have to attend both. It's one or the other.
Thanks for that, Jen. All right, my TV is not connected to anything. Is someone going to hook it up to my laptop? What about the speaker? When will this happen? Johnny, do you want to take that one?
Sure. As we referenced before, the site techs will be going around this week, knocking those issues out for you. So let's see, Tony already shared that Hyperdoc. The schedule is on there. And as always, feel free to reach out to us here at the district office as well for support. So don't feel like you're empty-handed. Don't feel like you're not going to get that support. You do have avenues and you do have resources to reach out to. So we're on deck. We're on standby. We're ready for those calls.
Absolutely. We have a team ready to go around to each and every one of you, each and every one of your classrooms, check your cameras, check your TVs. I would put in a work request just in case, just so that you can track that and make sure that gets done. But we will be supporting you all this week and ongoing. All right, so let's see. This says, it doesn't get close enough for me. I had to move it closer to me for them to see the board. But then the students couldn't see me because the Polycam lost sight of me. Also, mine is not synced like Lucy's. So if you're having issues with your camera, again, I would start with what Johnny said, unplug it, plug it back in. Sometimes it gets a little lost there. And if that doesn't fix it, we'll be there shortly to help iron that out. Give us a call, put in a work request, and we'll be right there. Let's see. I will also be sitting and not moving or talking, and the Polycam will zoom in and out on its own. That is, I'll touch on this one too. Again, depending on the ambient noise or any other moving objects in your room, the camera might try and focus on other objects that it might hear. So it's important that wherever you face your camera, you make sure that is in a field of view where you try to get rid of any additional moving issues that might come up. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Jen.
Yeah, you know, we purposely put the cameras in a certain spot so that it would be optimal wherever you are in your room. So it is important to keep it that way. And I would just say work with the techs when they're at your site to make sure that it's in the right spot for you.
Great. This one is for Lucy. In your experience, can students read what is on your charts or on your board?
Yes, they can. Every morning we practice our letters and I give them a minute. And can you see this letter? Jennifer, K.
K, F,
F.
and
Yeah, and don't forget, you want to get the students to pin your screen also so that it's bigger for them. But if you wanted to zoom in more, you can always use that remote control and manually zoom in.
So I pinned for our live audience right now just so that they have a view of what that looks like. So when you actually pin that user with the teacher, the clarity increases tenfold.
Lucy, can you do the zoom in button on the remote and see what that would look like?
Wow.
That's great. It's a lot clearer.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you.
I can see the individual straws. It's so clear. That's awesome.
All right. We will go to the next question here. This one was more of a comment to the Zoomies. Comment was Googlies. Meters and seaters is a good one. I like that one.
I was
That
close.
is good.
I was close.
Let's see. In the meet, in your seat. We got a lot of participation here. That's awesome.
It's nice. Thank you, guys.
Hi, team. You're doing an awesome job. Will the students at home have to pin the teacher to their screen to see details? Yes, that is the recommended solution for that. Let's see. Question, I believe it's direct connection or Wi-Fi Bluetooth. This is a direct connection, so we'll be using a USB cable. USB cables are about 15, 16 feet long, so there should be plenty of cabling space to connect to your computers. Can camera be hooked up to my laptop? My class computer is old and I never use it. Yes, of course it can.
Absolutely.
Let's see. I'm trying to just skim through the redundant questions that we've just answered.
And remember, it's plug and play, guys. So if you prefer to use your laptops, plug them in, test them out.
This is an interesting question. Will the poly camera, when the poly camera is activated, will the laptop camera work simultaneously, or does the poly camera disable the laptop camera? Johnny, do you want to take this one?
That is a great question. I don't know that answer, Tony. I'd have to get back to them. If you have that, please share that.
Sure. So if you are in, a single Google Meet, then you can only have one video source. A trick around that is if you have more than one device or you grab another Chromebook, you can actually have two different video feeds at once. My only recommendation beyond that would be to mute one of the additional devices so that you don't have a lot of audio feedback occur from that. Another option is to join the same Meet twice within the same computer on the same browser, but you'll have to select different cameras to use depending on which session you're in. Again, you would have to mute one of those sessions so that you're not having that crosstalk feedback. So it is possible. It's a little technical, but feel free to reach out to our team and we'll help you set that up and get you trained on that.
That's great to know. Thanks, Tony.
Definitely. Right. Sorry, these questions keep jumping out at me. Let me move to my other chart here. How do I access the Hyperdoc? I did send this out in the email, the invitation email last week. Otherwise, we will be following up this training with another email with all of these resources. But a good space to look is the WCUSD portal. So if you go to the portal, there is a icon with the P, the Poly logo, which you can click on, and that'll get you access to that Hyperdoc with all of those training resources, videos, and documentation.
I love that employee portal. Thanks, Tony. I can find everything I need within one interface. That's awesome.
Got another question here about audio video. When I was presenting this video on my TV through my laptop, the volume is on both and echoing. How can I just have the TV volume on without the computer? Well, simply you just have to turn it down on one of your devices. Whether you're using the Polycam or the TV to project audio, you don't want to have two different audio sources because then it's going to go within the microphone and create feedback and echo. So just make sure one device is always muted and turned down, and you won't have that issue. Let's see. How do you switch the camera to the laptop camera? So that would be within the Google Meet settings. Just to dive in real quick, the bottom, the three, I'll just do it right here.
3 little dots in the bottom right corner.
3 little dots in the bottom right-hand corner gives you the option to drill into those settings. And once you get into those settings, then you can change the actual video feed. It's pretty simple to do, but it might take a few moments to get the hang of. But again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us and we'll help you walk you through that.
And really quickly on that, there is another location. As you're entering a Google Meet, there is this little button on the bottom left-hand corner that allows you to test your audio and video resources before actually entering your Google Meet. Jen and I like to refer that as the green room, the waiting room. So when you're in the waiting room, you can toggle those settings back and forth and run a diagnostics test. This is available for all users in our domain.
Thank you, Johnny. Another question for Lucy. In your experience, do you have your Google Meet open on another device? That way when your students, let's see, on your device, that way you know what your students are seeing at home. That way you know if you have, sorry, this was a long one. Scroll over here. Whether you have to zoom in or zoom out. Does that make sense, Lucy?
I think so. I usually do have my Google Meet open. My laptop in the morning, I leave that open, and that's the only thing that I have on. But I do, Tony, want to try to use my big screen TV so that I can view the students here, because it's such a large screen. And so I think that's going to be even better. I'm going to be practicing that some more. But I do have my laptop. I can kind of glance over there if I need to, but like, it's just been amazing using the Polycam because I'm not having to go and mute all the students where when I'm sitting, I feel like I'm just monitoring them. And when I'm here, they really do feel like they're watching a movie. They're watching me, they're in the classroom setting, and it really helps with behavior. But I do want to try the big screen, have their faces showing up here, but I do have them on my laptop.
When we were filming Lucy in her classroom, this team here was actually the students in the room, and she had her students on the TV in the Google Meet, and she didn't, obviously glance up at the TV to interact with the kids at home so she can see their interactions, but it felt seamless as part of the classroom. It didn't feel odd having her look up at the screen, and the kids at home knew what she was doing as well because she was looking at them. But then when talking to the Polycam and the rest of the students in the classroom, and it really was seamless.
I have another question from our live viewers. Let's see here. Can the camera be turned off quickly to protect the privacy of students? I'll take that one. Yes, it can. There's a number of ways to do it, and I'm actually going to answer another question as well at the same time. And that other question is, does the poly camera takes over the camera of your laptop? How do I switch back and forth really quickly? So the easiest way is to unplug the camera from your computer. That will enable your camera to pick up the laptop camera it'll enable your laptop to pick up the camera that's built into your laptop and go away from the poly, as well as it'll turn off that poly camera, so anybody online can no longer see that feed. Like we said before, it is plug and play. So once you plug it in, it actually takes over, it takes a higher priority over the camera that's built into your laptop. So the easiest thing to do is just unplug it from your computer when you don't want to use it, whether it's for privacy or if you want to use a camera that's already on your laptop.
Tony, can I ask one question? Kind of, if I'm sharing something on my screen, but does that take over from the Poly Studio if I've shared something in the Google Meet?
Yes. So, the way Google Meet is built is that whatever anybody is sharing, as far as sharing their screen or a video, that'll take the majority of the area up on the screen. So as the teacher, you become a smaller box to the side. In order to get away from that, but still share that content, the students would have to pin you, as we talked about earlier. Got a few questions and concerns about their classrooms not being ready yet, or the cameras not being in there. The cameras have been all prepared and are ready to go. They may not be in there, but we have them ready for you. So if you get access to that Hyperdoc, there is a link on there regarding the technology schedule, and that indicates when your school site will be having at least 3, if not 4 different technicians out covering every single room and visiting you personally. So those cameras will be there shortly, and we will be there to help. That is all I have so far. Let's see. Oh, I got one more. Is it possible to have someone come by my classroom today? Our tech day is Thursday, and I want to try things prior. Go ahead and put in a support request. We have a limited amount of support staff that we're trying to get everyone taken care of in the most effective and efficient time. But that being said, if we get done with our rotations early, we definitely will run over and help you as we are able to. Definitely put in that technology request. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. I think it's really important to know that we're all here to support you. We have our district TOSAs, we have our entire tech department. We still have our morning TOSAs live. So please, at 7:30, if you have questions before the day starts, hop on. We're here. We can have our coffee together, just to say hi, just to make ourselves feel better, because this is kind of scary, the unknown, as the unknown always is. But I think the important thing to remember is, now that we're back in our rooms and we have these cameras, we can teach like we always have. So in that way, it's going to be easier. I know it's still hard with kids at home and kids. It's just like, how do you wrap your head around that? But hopefully with some of these tools, it will make that much easier.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. Got one more question about a clarification between the front row Juno mic system and the Polycam system. They are 2 separate systems. The front row Juno is really a speaker and a microphone system meant to project your voice for those that are in the classroom. But the camera system and the microphone system built into the Poly camera are separate. And that's meant for those kiddos and students that are at home in a virtual sense. So you can use both in conjunction if you would like to. But yeah, either of them are to be used however you need them.
Yeah, especially with those masks, you want to make sure that you're heard to everybody.
Okay, so if there are no further questions, are there any other closing comments from the team here? Otherwise, I can close this out.
Can't wait to use this in the classroom.
Awesome. Okay, so thank you all for another wonderful live session here. There will be a duplicate, as talked about before, training session on Wednesday at 9 for those interested. Again, this is being recorded, so hang on to this link that you're at now, and if you want to rewatch it, feel free. Otherwise, as mentioned, our team will be prepared to set up and provide ongoing support at your school site. Please email us, call us, submit a tech ticket, and we'll be there to help. Again, just referencing the WCUSD portal, check that out always and frequently. You can get the Hyperdoc there with all those links and resources that we shared today. Last but not least, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your resilience through all of these changes over the last year. It's been an incredible thing to watch and see how we were able to really adapt and pivot and do what we need to do to make sure our kids stay engaged. The efforts towards getting our students back in the classroom and where they belong and where they need to be is very important right now. And with that, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for our team here for putting this training together. If there's nothing else, we'll see you next time.